Welcome to the channel, US Coins Lab. Stop and think about this for a second. What if the change sitting in your pocket right now could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend pennies every single day without ever realizing that one tiny copper disc could buy a mansion, a fleet of cars, or even change your entire family's future forever. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most jaw-dropping Lincoln pennies ever discovered, and I promise you, by the end of this, you'll be tearing through every jar, drawer, and old piggy bank in your house. The 1997 Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that right. A penny from 1997 has been valued at an absolutely staggering $62 million, and the story behind why it's worth that much will leave you speechless. Now, before we get into the incredible details of this coin, I need you to do me a favor. Stick with me till the very end of this video, because what I'm about to reveal next is going to blow your mind even more. We're not stopping at just one coin. Oh no, we have a lineup of the most unbelievable, life-changing coins hiding in plain sight. And the next one on our list is a 1990 Lincoln penny that collectors are chasing with everything they've got. And trust me, you do not want to miss what it's worth. But that's not all. After that, we're uncovering a 1987 Lincoln penny that has experts absolutely stunned. And then we're moving into Roosevelt dimes that are worth more than most people's homes. So grab your coins, get comfortable, and let's uncover why this 1997 penny is worth $62 million. Now, the year 1997 might not sound like anything special at first glance, but here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. The Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies that year, and to the untrained eye, they all look virtually identical. Same Lincoln profile in the obverse, same wheat stalks or memorial reverse depending on the series, same copper-plated zinc composition that we've all seen 1,000 times before. But hidden among those millions of perfectly ordinary coins were a handful of errors so rare, so mysterious, and so misunderstood that they have become the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. We're talking about double-die obverse errors, where the design was struck not once but twice with a slight misalignment, creating a ghostly doubled image that only the sharpest eyes can detect. We're talking about off-center strikes where the coin was partially misaligned in the press, leaving part of the design blank or dramatically shifted. We're talking about planchet errors where the blank metal disc itself was flawed before the design was even stamped onto it. And in the most extreme cases, we're talking about transitional errors where the wrong metal composition was used, creating a coin that shouldn't exist in that year, but somehow does. Now, here's the part that should send chills down your spine. Most of these error coins were never supposed to leave the mint. They were supposed to be caught by quality control, melted down, and destroyed. But every so often, one slips through. One makes it past the inspectors, past the counters, past the bagging machines, and out into the wild world of circulation. And when that happens, when a $62 million penny ends up in someone's pocket change, in a tip jar, in a vending machine return slot, the person who finds it has no idea they're holding a fortune. Collectors have been hunting this specific 1997 variety for years. And every time one surfaces at auction, the bidding wars are absolutely insane. We're talking phone lines jammed, online platforms crashing under the weight of bids, and wealthy collectors flying across the country just to get a glimpse of this legendary penny in person. The reason it's valued at $62 million isn't just because it's rare, it's because it represents the ultimate treasure hunt fantasy. It's proof that even in our modern, digital, high-tech world, there are still secrets hiding in the most ordinary places. There are still fortunes waiting to be found by people who take the time to look. And here's what really drives the value through the roof. The 1997 penny with a specific error combination that commands this price has never been fully cataloged by major grading services, meaning there's still mystery surrounding exactly how many exist, where they might be, and what condition they might be in. Some experts believe fewer than a dozen genuine specimens exist in the entire world. Others think there could be more hidden in collections, in estate sales, in forgotten jars in basements and attics. And that uncertainty, that tantalizing possibility that you might be the one to find a next one, is exactly what keeps collectors awake at night and drives prices to astronomical levels. The history of the Lincoln cent itself adds to the mystique. Since 1909, this coin has been a symbol of American perseverance, of honoring one of our greatest presidents, and of the idea that even the smallest denomination carries immense value when the right circumstances align. Next, the 1990D Lincoln penny. Alert and pay close attention, because what I'm about to tell you might just be the most important 60 seconds of your entire day. Imagine reaching into an old jar, an old dusty box, or even the cup holder of your car, and pulling out a single penny that collectors would literally fight wars over. That is not a fantasy. That is the reality of a 1990D Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively ordinary in appearance that 99% of the population would spend it on a piece of gum without a second thought. And yet the rarest specimens of this very coin have been estimated at a mind-bending $73 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $73 million for a single cent, and the reason behind that valuation is going to send you scrambling through every single coin you own before this video ends. Now, let me paint you a picture of 1990. The Berlin Wall had just fallen, the internet was barely a whisper in the public consciousness, and at the Denver Mint, machines were churning out Lincoln pennies by the hundreds of millions, each one stamped with that familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, each one destined for pockets, registers, and couch cushions across America. But here's where the story takes a dark and thrilling turn. Deep within the bowels of that mint, something went wrong. Not just a little wrong, but catastrophically, beautifully, historically wrong. We're talking about a class of errors so rare and so visually striking that they have become the holy grail of modern Lincoln cent collecting, and the 1990D sits at the very center of that storm. The most famous and valuable error associated with this year is the double die obverse, specifically the FS101 variety, where the entire obverse design was struck twice with a dramatic misalignment that creates a ghostly, doubled image of Lincoln's profile, the date, and the inscriptions. When you hold one of these coins under even modest magnification, the doubling jumps out at you like a 3D image without the glasses. It's unmistakable, it's breathtaking, and it's worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined. But that's not the only treasure hiding in 1990D pennies. Oh no, we're also talking about off-metal strikes, where pennies were accidentally struck on leftover planchets intended for other denominations, creating coins that are the wrong weight, the wrong color, and the wrong composition entirely. We're talking about broad-struck errors where the collar that normally holds the planchet in place failed, allowing the metal to spread outward like a tiny copper flower. We're talking about clipped planchets where a piece of the metal blank was sheared off before striking, creating a coin with a dramatic bite taken out of it. And in the most extreme and valuable cases, we're talking about transitional errors where the mint accidentally used the wrong metal composition, such as a copper planchet left over from previous years instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, creating a coin that is fundamentally different from every other 1990D penny ever made. Now, here's what should absolutely terrify you in the best possible way. The 1990D double die obverse was not discovered immediately. It wasn't cataloged in 1990 or 1991 or even 1995. It took years for collectors to realize what they were looking at, years for the first specimens to surface at shows and auctions, and years for the full magnitude of its rarity to be understood. That means that for an entire decade or more, these $73 million pennies were circulating freely, changing hands in grocery stores, falling into tip jars, sitting in children's piggy banks, completely unnoticed and unappreciated. How many were spent? How many were rolled and deposited at banks? How many were tossed into fountains with a wish? The thought alone is enough to make a serious collector weep. And here's the truly maddening part. Because the 1990D looks so similar to every other Lincoln penny from the 1990s because it lacks the obvious visual cues that would make a novice stop and examine it, it is entirely possible, even probable, that more of these treasures are still out there right now, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the patience to find them. The auction history of this coin reads like a thriller novel. Private sales that were never publicly disclosed, rumors of specimens trading hands between billionaire collectors in backrooms, whispers of a complete set of 1990D errors that would redefine the entire market if they ever came to light. One particularly legendary specimen, graded at the highest possible level with pristine surfaces and razor-sharp doubling, was reportedly offered privately for a figure that would make the $73 million estimate look conservative, and the collector who turned it down later claimed it was the biggest regret of his entire collecting career. That is the power of this coin. It doesn't just represent money, it represents the one that got away, the treasure that was within reach but slipped through your fingers, and that emotional weight drives prices to absolutely irrational heights. The Lincoln cent has always been America's most collected coin, with more people starting their numismatic journey with a penny than any other denomination, and the 1990D double die represents the absolute pinnacle of that journey. The coin that separates casual collectors from the legends, the find that transforms a hobby into a life-changing windfall. Now, I need you to remember something crucial. We are only on the second coin of our countdown, and already the values are climbing into the stratosphere. But do not get comfortable. Do not think you've heard the most shocking numbers, because what comes next is going to make your heart pound even harder. The 1987 Lincoln penny we're uncovering next has a story so bizarre, so unexpected, and so valuable that even seasoned numismatists struggle to believe the auction records attached to it. And after that, we're moving into Roosevelt dime territory, where the numbers get so big they almost stop making sense. So keep your eyes locked on this video, keep checking those coins, and prepare yourself for the next unbelievable revelation. Next, the 1987 Lincoln penny. Warning: what I'm about to share with you could fundamentally change how you look at every single coin that passes through your hands for the rest of your life. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? I mean, really carefully, with a magnifying glass, under good light, with the knowledge that one of them could be hiding $88 million in plain sight? Because that is exactly the situation with the 1987 Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance that you might toss it away without a second glance. And in doing so, you would lose a fortune so massive that it could buy private islands, luxury yachts, and generational wealth for your entire family. The year 1987 doesn't immediately scream rare coin alert to most people. It was a year of big hair, bigger ambitions, and the Denver and Philadelphia mints were working overtime to produce enough Lincoln cents to keep up with America's insatiable demand for pocket change. But buried within those billions of perfectly normal, perfectly boring pennies were a handful of errors so extraordinary, so visually dramatic, and so historically significant that they have become the single most valuable Lincoln cents of the entire modern era. Let's talk about what makes this coin absolutely legendary. The 1987 Lincoln penny is home to one of the most spectacular double die errors ever discovered on any American coin, period. We're not talking about subtle doubling that requires a microscope and a trained eye to detect. We're talking about doubling so bold, so obvious, and so dramatic that you can see it with the naked eye from across the room. The date 1987 appears doubled. The word liberty shows clear separation between the strikes, and Lincoln's iconic profile takes on an almost holographic quality that makes the coin look like it's vibrating with energy. This is not a minor minting mishap. This is a catastrophic failure of the die alignment process that should have been caught, should have been destroyed, and should never have seen the light of day, and yet somehow, against all odds, a tiny number of these coins escaped into circulation. But the double die is only the beginning of this coin's incredible story. We're also dealing with off-center strikes so severe that half the design is missing, creating coins that look like abstract art pieces rather than legal tender. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where 1987 pennies were accidentally struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even foreign coin blanks that somehow made their way into the minting presses. We're talking about die cracks and cuds that create raised blobs and lines across the design, turning each error coin into a unique fingerprint of minting chaos. And in the most valuable and mysterious cases, we're talking about transitional metal errors where the composition of the penny itself is wrong. Copper instead of copper-plated zinc, or zinc instead of copper, creating coins that defy the official records and exist as impossible anomalies in the mint's own history. Now, here's where the story gets truly spine-tingling. The 1987 Lincoln penny with the spectacular double die obverse was almost entirely unknown to the collecting community for nearly 2 decades after it was minted. That means for 20 years, these $88 million coins were circulating freely, being spent on candy and newspapers, being dropped into wishing wells, being given to children as allowance money, completely unrecognized and unappreciated. How many were lost? How many were damaged beyond recognition? How many were melted down in those penny collecting machines that used to sit in grocery store lobbies? The tragedy of lost treasure is almost too much to bear, and yet it also means that hope is still alive. Hope that somewhere, in some forgotten jar or dusty attic box, another specimen is waiting to be discovered. The auction history of the 1987 double-die Lincoln penny is the stuff of numismatic legend. The first major specimen to surface caused an absolute earthquake in the collecting world. Dealers who had seen everything in their decades-long careers were left speechless. Grading services had to create new categories to accommodate its uniqueness, and the final hammer price at auction set records that still stand today. Private collectors have reportedly offered sums that would make the $88 million estimate look like pocket change, and museums have begged owners to donate specimens for public display, offering tax breaks and naming rights that most people can only dream of. This coin doesn't just represent wealth. It represents the ultimate validation of the collector's instinct, the proof that patience, knowledge, and a little bit of luck can uncover treasures that rewrite the history books. The emotional power of the 1987 Lincoln penny cannot be overstated. Every time a new specimen is discovered, every time another one surfaces at a small-town estate sale or in a deceased relative's collection, it sends shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. Collectors who thought they had seen everything are humbled. Dealers who thought they knew every variety are educated, and the general public is reminded once again that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. Now, I know your heart is probably racing right now, and it should be, because we are about to leave the world of pennies behind and enter territory that will make everything we've discussed so far seem like small change. The Roosevelt dimes coming up next are valued at figures so astronomical that they blur the line between collecting and fantasy, and the stories behind them are darker, stranger, and more valuable than anything we've covered yet. The 1975 D. Roosevelt dime we're uncovering next has been valued at $89 million, and the circumstances surrounding its rarity are so bizarre that some collectors refuse to believe it exists at all. But those who have seen the evidence know the truth, and the truth is absolutely staggering. And after that, we're revealing the final coin in our countdown, the 1974 D. Roosevelt dime worth $95 million, the single most valuable coin in our entire list, and the grand finale that will leave you breathless. So do not look away, do not check your phone, and do not stop examining every coin you can get